Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we are here for tips and tactics and talk about artillery. And after lots of game, the question that arises is, does it work its point with the rule that it have at the moment? I know that representing the use of Napoleonic artillery on a tabletop is quite hard because needs a lot of empiric rules to reflect the use of massive battery or few guns in horse-drawn or field gun beside the infantry brigade. And the rules per se is not bad. Artillery is quite good with this rule, is not too powerful in any case, not even in battery with the rerolls, and not even with some officer with trait such as artillerist. But the main issue that I have found playing game after game with artillery is that is very slow, and after a couple of shots in the early turn of the game, when you start to maneuver your cavalry or your infantry, more often than not you will end with your line of sight closed by the marching battalions, and this forces you to use your artillery not in the way that maybe you have planned, or not in the way that is the most effective for your battle plan, because maybe you are forced to shoot it at not desired target, just to shoot at something because you have nothing else in line of sight. And if you consider that a cannon player can put in front of your battery a unit of skirmishers in open order, this will reduce the effectiveness of your artillery more than what is just. Reduced by the fact of the game, not the rule, because the rule is good. So, all in all, of the first question, does it work its point? My answer is probably yes. They are not too expensive for what they do, but we have to think a couple of facts about artillery, and the rule put the artillery, make the artillery a tool suited better for defense rather than the attack. And more often than not, especially French but also the Austrian, use artillery in attack, not always, not only in defense. Think to Napoleon that start the battles bombarding the enemy position maybe for hours with its artillery, especially in the mid and late period with the Grand Batterie or the Austrian battery at Wagram, Asper-Essling, Jena, and so on. So it's quite difficult to use properly artillery in attack. So take some consideration about this. First of all, we have three kinds of artillery in the game. The field gun, we have here two field gun, one British and one French. Guns in battery, 3 12-pounder and 3 heavy gun for the Austrian put into battery, because Austrian, French and Russia can use battery as rule. And finally, the horse-drawn artillery, the horse artillery, Royal Horse Artillery and an Austrian light gun horse-drawn. So this is probably the best artillery of the game, because they are quick, and they can follow the infantry or the cavalry, and so keep the pace with your advancing troop, and nothing force you to do not use it, or deny the use of lots of horse cavalry, or horse artillery, sorry, but historically not all the artillery deployed are horse-drawn. Most of all are regular field gun, and for the first period, gun of the reserves are the heavy artillery, or heavy artillery for the French, to soften the enemy up. But this model here move 6 inches if limbered, and 1 inch to 3 inches if unlimbered, and 1 inch if unlimbered, so make practically immobile on the field. And even if you attach your horses and start to move around the table with 6 inches of movement and no possibility to double if within 18 inches from the enemy, probably you need 3-4 turns before put them back in a good position to fire. And in a game made of 6, 7, 8 turn, and the best occasion, 4 turns spent moving around your gun make it unworthy to take. So, set aside the horse artillery, which are good, but you cannot, as I said, use in any of your brigade. How to cope with this? If you take 1 or 2 cannon in a brigade, you will see rose the problem that I told you. One of the solutions is to put them into battery and use 1 officer with artillerist rule, which means that at least you do not have to shoot at the closest target, and maybe left corridor with line of sight towards the enemy opponents allow you to shoot at something useful even in the late turn. But this rose 2 questions. First of all, you have to really carefully plan where to put your battery, and not all the gamer use the optional rules for the trait. So maybe you have not an artillerist officer in your army. And this brings us back to the starting problem. As I said, artillery is very good in defense, because when an enemy enters in canister range and you have 1 or even 2 guns in canister range, their firepower will become really devastating for the incoming enemy. But what if you are the attacker and you need to move towards the objective, towards the enemy, around the table? In reality, artillery was a large part of Napoleonic battle, especially for the French, but even for the Austrian in the late period, the Russian, etc. Let me say, if you play in the first year of the Napoleonic era or in the peninsula, artillery is not so an important part of the battles. British have few guns compared to the French. French have not the large batteries, and so we can cope with the problem of line of sight, have a few guns to move around, and even have more horse artillery. British, especially in the form of mountain cannon, which can be considered light enough to be such as horse artillery. Or anyway, use this gun in the peninsula is quite good. You will end up with few guns. But in larger game, especially during the 1809 until the end of the Napoleonic era, the number of guns per part increased considerably. And this led me to think something that could be a solution, maybe. I talked with Jarvis recently. I sent him an email just yesterday because I reading books and watched some videos about Battle of Jena and other period. Oh, sorry, not Jena, Lipsia. That period, I see that many times French deploy their artillery forward, and the same did the Austrian. There is a picture on the Osprey book, Army of Napoleon, that depicted exactly this: a battery of Austrian artillery deployed forward from their main line to harass the enemy line. And so I thought, why not try to replicate this in the game? I suggest, Jervis, a rule that could be integrated for artillery. Maybe you can purchase it at the same way that you bought for your troop elite upgrade or a larger upgrade or regimental gun. So pay for it if you want. But I thought that maybe it's possible to deploy a battery or even single guns as a kind of vanguard detachment. And I want to test it in my next game, but this means probably something between 12 to 18 inches from your main deployment zone. And this allows artillery to start since the first turn to bombard the enemy, harass the enemy, with an impact on the game that shouldn't be too heavy, because in the end, try to think a battery of field gun, but even the heavy gun, which reroll the one if do not move at all. But I'm thinking, while I'm speaking, that maybe this rule could be skipped if your battery is deployed forward, because in the end it will be moved. So anyway, forgot the reroll. You roll 4 dice on a 4+. 4 dice on a 4+ for what? 3 turns before the infantry and the cavalry field the field gun, the tabletop the gun, and close your line of sight. So this probably will bring, if you are very lucky, in a couple of valor tests for a couple of enemy battalion. But a cunning opponent maybe will have a skirmisher line in front, so is not even sure that you will bring a couple of battalion to test, to valor test. But this in any way seems to me, in my opinion, a valid way to use artillery in a better way, more strategical way, and is open, always in my opinion, and I'm curious to hear what do you think about it. This will bring more depth to the game, because you will deploy a battery forward, and this bring your opponent to maybe rethink his plan, maybe move his cavalry in a way that he haven't thought before, just to counter your move, just to force your battery back. And this bring you to think if you want to share the risk to being charged by cavalry in the hope to destroy with your fire earlier, or retreat your battery behind your lines and return it to use it as a normal battery. And in the rule that I took, I put I wrote that battery deployed in a vanguard position can only move towards its table edge, its line, and is allowed to move at the double even with an enemy within 12 to 18 inches, but only to move back, to retreat from their forward position, to retreat to their line. And in my opinion, it looked fair, because you see two squadron of dragoons that come at you. You will limber your gun and run away, or stay where they are, try to crush them, and then see your gun captured by the cavalry, and see nails put in your gun and destroy essentially this. I see this more historical, both historical and give efficiency to your artillery. Maybe it's only a problem of mine. Maybe it's me that I cannot see a different way to use artillery, but experiences 3 years of game see that artillery in attack is not so a worthy take. It's very, very good in defense, but if you play a scenario with objective, or even in a historical scenario, you have to move to achieve your objective, and only some very defensive scenario allow you to stay where you are and pound the enemy, bombard the enemy that come at you. And honestly, maybe it's a challenging scenario, but not the most fun for the attacker in this case. But if this is your choice, this is your style of game, it doesn't change anything, because you don't move, and so your artillery doesn't move and stay where it is and pound the enemy. So I do not see a real threat for the balance of the game. But in any case, I want to try this in a couple of games, maybe more than a couple of games, and see if what I say is a complete idiocy or makes sense. And if you want to try this and think on this and let me know what do you think about, I'm very happy to share my consideration with you. So please, if you have a different idea or a different thought about this, let me know in the comment or write me on the Facebook page of Valor Fortitude. I repeat, I'm quite happy to discuss this with you, and that's it. This is the consideration that I want to share, and it's over. It's old for this, and I hope to have some Napoleonic game soon enough to test this. Until then, thank you for watching, and see you soon as possible. Bye bye.